I have watched smart, capable people make the same mistakes over and over again. And it's not because they weren't paying attention. It's because nobody sat down and told them what really matters before they listed. If you've lived in your home for 20, 30, maybe even 40 years, it's not like selling a house. It's really more like closing a chapter. Today, I'm walking you through the top 5 mistakes I see seniors make when they go to sell their homes and exactly what you'll gain by avoiding each one. And stick around till the end because number 5 is something no one thinks about until it costs them weeks. Want the full arsenal that I give to all of my clients? Comment the word move and I'll send you my homeowner video playbooks with all of the tips and tricks that I use to set my clients up for success from day one. All right, let's get into it. Pricing to win in those first few weeks. This mistake is the one that quietly costs sellers thousands of dollars, and almost nobody sees it coming. And if your house sits on the market for more than about 45 days, this is probably why. We're talking about positioning your home at the wrong price point. Here's how it usually goes. You've lived in your house for decades. You know all of the amazing things that make it so special. You end up positioning your home based upon what it's worth to you or based upon what the guy across the street got 3 years ago. The problem is neither of these strategies are data backed. Recent sales, they only matter for about 6 months. And pricing from an emotional standpoint can end up doing more harm than actual good and can cost you thousands at the closing table. The market does not know your memories. It only knows what's closed and for how much. And when a home is priced even 5 or 10% above fair market value, it can have a huge effect on not only your activity level, but your overall closing price. Those first 2 weeks, when you get the most eyes, the most showings, and the most momentum, gets wasted when you're not positioned correctly on the market. When you eventually do a price reduction, buyers see that sometimes as an opportunity to negotiate even more. Healthy interest and competition among buyers is what really drives the price point up. So the smart move, positioning based upon what the data actually says. And here's the big gain for sellers when they get the positioning right. When a home is positioned properly on the market, it garners lots of excitement. This means a higher likelihood of multiple offers, which usually means both a higher price point and less negotiating down the line. And if you want to know your home's true value in the market right now, comment the word priced and I'll get you your real numbers. We price to win, not just to list. Now, pricing is important, but it's only half the battle. Mistake number 2 is what determines whether you go into negotiation standing strong or playing defense, because we always want to walk into a negotiation from a position of strength. This mistake can cause a $50 fix into a $5,000 discount, and you won't see it coming until a stranger is walking through your house with a clipboard. Not a place you want to be. That person is your buyer's inspector, and that mistake is skipping on those small repairs now before the inspector shows up. After 30 years in a home, you might have made peace with some of these things that need fixing. The roof might have just a little wear and tear. Maybe you have an old oil tank that you don't use anymore in the basement, and it just became part of the furniture. None of it bothers you anymore because you've lived with it. But a buyer's inspector, they don't live with it. And now, depending on their opinion, it may or may not be a big deal. And suddenly, you're not selling a home anymore, you're defending one. Or worse, your buyer gets cold feet and walks. And here's that win for when you flip it around and handle it ahead of time. Nothing that an inspector could potentially find will be a surprise, which means the buyer doesn't gain any more leverage than they had before you accepted their offer. A roofing letter, an insurance update, a small electrical fix, these are all maintenance items and things that will easily come up with a pre-listing walkthrough by your local realtor. I wonder who that could be. Now, we're not talking about a professional inspection. I'm talking about a pre-listing walkthrough where your local trusted realtor helps you make decisions about minor repairs that might have absolutely nothing to do with your home's value, but could cause an issue and slow down your deal if we don't deal with them before we list. This way, we walk into negotiation standing on solid ground. If you want to know exactly what an inspector might pinpoint in your house, comment guide and I'll send you a list of exactly what to look for. Mistake number 3 is one most people don't see coming until tax season. And by then, it's usually too late. This mistake is not understanding what capital gains means for you. If you purchased your home in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, there's a really strong chance that it's worth a lot more today than it was when you originally paid for it. And that's great news until you realize that gap is exactly what the IRS is looking at. Many sellers find out about this after contracts are already signed, deadlines are set, and there's very little room to renegotiate. But there's a big win in catching it early. There are exclusions that can protect a large amount of what you walk away with. And for a lot of long term homeowners, things like careful timing, meaning even the calendar month that you close, can make a real difference in your favor. It is a really, really important conversation for every homeowner to have with their CPA before they list, especially if you're dealing with a home that is carrying a lot of equity. Once you meet with your trusted realtor and establish proper positioning and fair market value, have that conversation and share those numbers with your CPA. One phone call can make a significant difference on the return on investment you leave the closing table with. This conversation is not a scare tactic. It's an important piece of the strategy that I encourage all of my clients to do early. Message me Tax Talk, and I'll send you my list of trusted advisors. Mistake number 4 usually happens right before the photographer shows up. And what a shame, because it's completely avoidable. This mistake happens digitally during those first 10 days that you're listed. And once that window closes, you do not get it back. Doesn't matter how amazing your house is. Why your first 10 days online matter way more than you even think. The mistake: rushing to list before your house is actually show ready. That first impression, especially in today's market, matters way more than a seller may realize. The most attention your listing will ever get happens in the first 7 to 10 days that it's listed. That is not a lot of time, so getting it right from day one is super important. When your listing is brand new online, that's when it gets the most attention from buyers and agents. It's also when the algorithm will give your listing the most love, which means it'll show up in the most amount of searches and have the most amount of attention. After that 7 to 10 day window closes, excitement naturally starts to wane, even if nothing about the house has changed. This is why it's so important to get the home show ready before the photographer comes in and all of the media on the house is complete. We always want to put our best foot forward, but especially with our digital campaign, everything should look exactly right. Here's the win with spending an extra week or two getting your house perfectly show ready. Every photo, every video, and every showing works in your favor, not against you. Decluttered, deep clean, and well lit homes give space for a buyer to picture their life in your house. That's the version of your home that gets the most interest and the strongest offers right out of the gate. Taking the time to ready your home for showings can be a short delay that equals a much stronger launch. If you're ready to list and want a second pair of eyes on what's important for your photo day, comment ready and I'll walk through it with you. The mistake that no one sees coming and quietly causes the most stress. This is the timeline mistake that nobody warns you about. This one tends to sneak up on people within the last 2 weeks, right before they close. They are exhausted, they are overwhelmed, and now they're making decisions that they might regret later, all because of this one thing that nobody warned them about. I'm going to let you in on the secret. You're welcome. Don't tell anyone. No, tell them. They need to know. Tell them all. This mistake is underestimating how long it's actually going to take to sort through 40 years worth of stuff. This is not like packing up an apartment. This is decades of birthdays, holidays, and kids' artwork, maybe even some of your own parents' belongings that made it to your house along the way. I have watched sellers try to do all of this within the last 2 weeks of closing. Exhausted, rushing, making decisions they'll regret later just to hit a deadline. Running sweaty back and forth from your house to a moving truck is not a position you want to be in. And also, not one that you have to be in. When you give yourself months instead of weeks to make important decisions about what stays and what goes, you can make those decisions from a place of logic, instead of a place of panic. And that's the real win in starting early. You actually get to sit with your grandmother's china instead of feverishly packing it into boxes the night before closing. You get to take your time choosing which items bring you enough joy to come with you into the next chapter instead of being exhausted by it. So the move here is really starting to sort before it feels necessary. Months, not weeks. Maybe even before you've decided whether or not you even want to list. Go slow, room by room. Give yourself that gift. You've worked hard and earned yourself a calm move, not a chaotic one. If you are thinking about listing your property sometime in the next 12 months but aren't sure where to start, comment start here and let's map out your next chapter. So to recap, pricing on emotion instead of data, skipping repairs that later become negotiation leverage, missing the window to plan around your capital gains, rushing to list before your home is truly ready, and understanding how long it takes to go through a lifetime of belongings. These are the 5 biggest mistakes that I see senior sellers make. The good news, every single one of them is completely avoidable. And here's what you get on the other side when you avoid them. More money in your pocket. That one's probably my favorite. A negotiation you can go into standing strong instead of playing defense. More of your equity protected. A launch that gives your home the strongest first impression. And a move that feels calm instead of chaotic. None of this is about what you did wrong. It's about what's possible when you have just a little bit of guidance going in. And that's my favorite thing that I get to do for my client. I hold the anxiety so you don't have to carry it alone. And I tell you the truth to set you up for success, even when it's not the easy answer. If you're starting to think about your next chapter, whether that's 6 months from now or just an idea you're mulling over, I would love to talk it through with you. Comment next chapter and let's figure out what this move might look like for you.